Republicans are in a panic after the huge losses that they were handed across the country on Tuesday, and it is upending Trump's gerrymandering push. So let's start down here in Texas, where there is aggressive gerrymandering, and it might just come back to hurt the Republican Party here in Texas. So here is Fox News's Jessica Tarlov explaining why.
In particular, the swing in the Latino vote is really important. So Donald Trump made big gains. He got 46% of the vote. It swung all the way back. Mike Yasmin got, 64% there. You're already seeing Republicans on the state level start to panic about the gerrymander plans, because that Texas gerrymander only works if you're going to get 2024 Latino margins. It does not work if it goes back to normal. So they're freaking out as Gavin Newsom is taking a well-deserved victory lap on Prop 50, which he won by an even bigger margin than his own recall.
Well, Texas Republicans previously all had very, very safe seats. That changed with this map as they made several races much tighter. And if 2026 is a blue wave, a lot of them could end up losing their seats. And you know what? I would love to see that happen. Abbott had bragged about doing exactly what may sink those Republicans. He wrote on X, "The law has changed. The facts have changed. So did the votes." Hispanics voted overwhelmingly for President Trump. 4 of the 5 districts Texas is creating will be Hispanic districts. Texas is redrawing fair maps to ensure voters can elect the candidate of their choice. Now, we do have to mention that Abbott would never mention, that these aren't newly created Latino districts. Hispanic residents already made up a majority or plurality in each of the 5 districts that they targeted. So while it's too late for Texas to reverse course, other GOP states have halted their efforts in the wake of Tuesday. So let's bring up the map of current gerrymandering efforts. So let's take a look at this. You can see that the GOP has a 4 or 5 net seat gain, depending on what happens in Utah, with a number of other states considering it. One of those states that was considering a redraw is Kansas, and emphasis on the was, because Kansas House Speaker Dan Hawkins announced Tuesday night that Republicans would not vote to call a special legislative session. Republicans had planned to target Kansas's 3rd congressional district, which had been led by Representative Sharice Davids, a Democrat, since 2019. But it seems that the state's GOP lawmakers just couldn't get behind the mid-cycle redistricting effort that Trump had demanded, with some concerned redistricting could make red areas more competitive. So another state, Indiana, was already having trouble getting their redraw. So Molly Seigert, the spokesperson for Roderick Bray, the Indiana Senate's president pro tem, told the New Republic on Monday that the votes still aren't there for redistricting. The 50-member Senate has only 10 Democrat members, meaning that more than a dozen of the remaining members also oppose the plan. So we seem to have staunched the bleeding in new redistricting efforts in red states, and going a step further, Democrats are now in a stronger position to counter the moves that have already been made. Prop 50 passing in California was huge, so thank you to everyone in California who voted for that. But there's more. Virginia's post-Spanberger win now has a trifecta as they push forward their effort to redraw. So Virginia Democrats have yet to offer details on their new map, but the effort marks the most advanced attempt by Democrats to draw more favorable congressional districts outside of California's ballot measure, which also faced voters Tuesday. Both chambers of the state's legislature will need to pass the proposed amendment again in another session after Election Day. The amendment would then need to be approved by Virginia voters before next year's congressional primaries. And just a note real quick, Brett, before I get your thoughts, Democrats in Illinois and Maryland are also considering moves that could give the Democrats 1 more seat in each of those states. So this all feels, I don't want to say it feels undemocratic, because I do respect Gavin Newsom for at least putting his to a vote. But like I said, like, my standards are very, very low because my governor did not give us that right to vote. But this is a very strange way to be practicing politics. And this is part of the reason why I think a lot of people say that they don't like politics, because it feels like games, right? It feels like stupid chess that we're all playing with each other. And it's not fun, like in a perfect democracy, it would be, here's the issue, here's the people, you vote, the people vote on the issue, and then whatever the people vote for, that's what happens. But in the reality, we have things like gerrymandering and redistricting and redrawing the maps. And then we have things like the Electoral College. And then we have things like the filibuster, which we were also going to talk about in the bonus. So Brett, there's a lot going on here. Some of it is encouraging, but it's also like, why are we doing any of this?
I mean, we're doing any of it because somebody really wants to play what they consider to be their advantage. That's it. And specifically, Donald Trump realized he knows how unpopular he is. And that's why he put pressure on Texas to redraw the district lines, because he knows last time, as soon as he got to be president, the next election was real bad for him. So rather than be better at his job, once again, he's trying to just change the rules. Or then the other move he has is to deny that rules exist and pretend that other people are cheating, which is not the case at all. Like, he started this. He doesn't understand that other people might finish it. But yeah, and the last thing is with the Latino vote thing, I think what a lot of Democrats don't understand is that there's a lot of Latinos in America who don't like illegal immigration. They came in legally and they don't like illegal immigration. What Donald Trump doesn't understand is bro, now the way that you're enforcing legal immigration makes it so that the folks that don't like, the Latinos who don't like illegal immigration, might get arrested, beat up, and sent to a country they're not from.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is very unsettling. I mean, here in Texas, I know a lot of Latino people who do support Donald Trump. They support the administration, and they even support his efforts with ICE and everything going on. But the thing is, they're also sort of uneducated as far as what ICE is doing, right? They don't seem to understand that ICE is just picking up people off the streets. There are no warrants, there's no due process, there's no accountability. There's no informing the families or friends as to where these people are being taken. And so they don't really understand that that could very well be them being picked up by ICE and being deported to somewhere, maybe the country that they came from, but maybe not, maybe they're all just going to some concentration camp somewhere in some other country. But again, there's not really much of a paper trail. So I would love to see there be some more education there for the people who are still supporting this, especially people of color who, as far as these ICE agents go, they're not really discriminating against, people. They're listening to people if they have an accent or not, and then flagging them for that. There's a lot of American citizens who are here legally, who have always been here legally, who still have accents. I have a friend who was born here and he still has an accent because he speaks Spanish in his house, right? But he's not safe. And the other thing is, they say things like, oh, I have my papers, I have my papers. What American walks around with papers to prove that they're American citizens? I've been here my whole life. I've never had papers that I'm walking around with. I'm gonna assume that you don't either, Brett. So it's a whole thing. It will be interesting to see how all this plays out in the midterms. But they keep saying that this 2025 election is a bellwether for what happens in the midterms. And I hope that stays, but a lot can happen between now and then, so.